So welcome everybody to the latest Jodel webinar. Today is the 5th of June 2023, and this evening it's my absolute pleasure to be introducing Language Magnet, in particular Diana Summers from Language Magnet, who's going to tell us all about her resource and how she is helping and supporting primary teachers to integrate languages within the already very full curriculum. So I can't wait to hear all about all the different things that Language Magnet offer. And without further ado, I would like to hand over to Diana to introduce this very interesting session all about Language Magnet and language at primary school level. Over to you, Diana.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you so much for sharing your Monday evening with us, and wherever you are in the world for joining us here. Really lovely that you've come, and we're delighted to be able to show you about Language Magnet, but to talk about empowering primary teachers to deliver foreign languages confidently. So off we go. Here we go. So the purpose and running order, first of all, just to give you a brief information about my background, to look at the current situation in primary schools for MFL, to look at how teachers can be empowered to deliver MFL confidently, and to introduce you to the new Language Magnet MFL teaching portal. So briefly, my background then, my name is Diana Summers, a founder of Language Magnet. I'm a primary languages specialist and consultant, and I have over 30 years of experience with teaching languages, both to children and to adults. I was a secondary trained MFL teacher, and I've also been a private tutor to both adults and children. I've taught language classes to adults. I've taught English as a second language to adults and children. I've taught online in the UK and internationally. And I'm also a qualified life coach. So I have a very unusual teaching experience, but it's that combination of different experiences that brought me to founding Language Magnet.
I should introduce myself. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a core member of the Language Magnet team. I'm head of systems and art, and my background is actually in animation. So I've worked in a variety of publishing and broadcasting, but my specialism is in children's entertainment. So I've worked on BBC shows like CBeebies Dog Loves Books, Moon and Me, Baby Club and Toddler Club, and I'm really passionate about bringing entertaining experiences for the classroom.
Brilliant. So here we go. We founded Language Magnet in 2016, and it was based on a lot of work prior to that, working with primary schools over many years, listening and responding to the needs of teachers, recognizing that there was a real need for teachers to find a confidence in being able to deliver MFL. And with that, started building a program, and that program has gone on to be very successful and tried and trusted in primary schools. And that's what we've now brought online, and we want to show you this afternoon. So, but first of all, it's about you. So where are you at with your school's MFL, and where do you want to be? So the teachers that I've worked with, they've all said they were experiencing one or more of the following. Okay, they said they were unsure of the target language itself, and that was the number one. 98%, I would say, said they were unsure of the target language. They were unsure of how to deliver the actual target language, the techniques. They were also unsure how to meet the expectations of the National Curriculum Languages Programme of Study for Key Stage 2, and that I'm referring to in England. And of course, you have various programs of studies in your own countries for those of you who are from around the world. But this in particular is referring to England. And then many, well, I would say again, about 98% were unsure on how to assess and show progression in MFL. Because the schools that I've worked with are ones where there was no specialist, there was a smattering of prior experience, Maybe some had some a GCSE, but a very, very little exposure to it and very little experience of teaching it.
So we'd like to we really want to know what you think about this. If you relate to any of these, just pop a number in the chat. Like you could have multiple 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. But yeah, we'd love to know how you feel about this.
I know we've got a wide range on the call. We've got people who are specialists, and then there are people who are not. But just an idea, you know, what people find is been their experience. Okay, so Sheila, they're saying 2 and 4. Yeah, 2 and 3. Yeah, delivery techniques. There's one thing knowing the language, and there's another thing actually being able to teach another person. 1 to 3. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of 2s. Unsure how to deliver target language.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah.
I'm confident with all this being a specialist.
Yeah.
More about my colleagues.
Absolutely. About the colleagues. And I hope that people on the call here will have something to take away to share with colleagues, because those colleagues really do need supporting. All right. Well, thank you for feeding back to us, because that really helps us to know. Oh, 2 languages. Yeah. Yeah, feel 1 would be better. Yes, yeah, that's a common scenario where not sure how many languages they should teach and which works better, and sometimes it's split between year groups. Right. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to have a look then at what the situation is out there more widely. Okay. So you're not alone if you do feel a lack of confidence at all in any of those areas. This is the latest research, came out from the Department of Education, and it's their research report in April, came out on working lives of teachers and leaders. Now, they did a lot of different areas of research, but one they did look at in particular was the confidence of subject knowledge. They looked at primary and they looked at secondary. So looking at this graph, what you would expect is that they feel very confident generally, with English and maths right up there in the 90%. And then you follow that graph down to languages right at the bottom there, with just 24% feeling confident. Now, that's a score out of 5. So if you scored 4 or 5 of those teachers that did the survey, that means they were either confident or very confident. And if you look at the other side, you've got 43% that said they were not confident. And of that, 21% said they were not confident at all. And then that leaves a 33% that gave neither a positive or a negative response. That being so, it would be fair to say that 76% of the teachers in this survey did not identify as confident with teaching languages. So one of the reasons then is the national curriculum said this is particular to England, but the programme of study identifies what pupils should be taught to do. And we know that is listening, speaking, reading, writing, and understanding basic grammar. But how is that taught, and what actual language should be taught? Now, if you're in if it's your own language, then obviously you've got a structure there to work with. But if you don't know the language or lack confidence in the language, that's quite a big ask. Yeah, there's a comment there coming from Marie, and it says languages were not well acknowledged in the past either. And absolutely agree that this is something that it was brought onto the curriculum in 2014 as mandatory. And so we're actually looking over pretty much 10 years of what's gone on since then, since we made mandatory, and yet still those figures are very low on the confidence level. So if we look at the current situation in primary schools, we're going to put it into 2 basic scenarios. So the first one would be where the MFL is being delivered by an in-school specialist language teacher, who mostly delivers probably their own curriculum. It could be ready-made curriculum, and they largely deliver for the whole school. And they may be a native speaker, or they may have an A-level or above in the target language. Some schools, a specialist may be brought in to deliver the subject itself, but a lot of budget crisis has meant that those positions have gone. So where there is a specialist in the school, on a member of the staff, the MFL is usually being delivered regularly, and the teacher is able to assess and show progression. So they would be most likely the 24% in the Department of Education report. However, there is a risk factor, and that is if the specialist teacher leaves, the school may lose its power to deliver MFL effectively if what the specialist did, if that hasn't been embedded into the school so that all teachers could teach that curriculum. The second common scenario then is where the MFL is being delivered by the classroom teacher, who may or may not be confident with the target language. And the majority, as we've seen already, are more likely to not be that confident. The school may or may not use a ready-made scheme of work. And generally one teacher is the MFL coordinator, and they are responsible for the curriculum planning, and the organisation of the continual professional development. Now, the confidence of the MFL coordinator could be, they could have prior experience, but frequently they don't even have that either. It may be that they found the person who's had the most exposure to language, and it may only have been up to sort of year 9 at high school. So they could feel not confident with how to support the rest of the teaching staff either. So MFL is generally timetabled to be delivered once a week, but it's not necessarily happening every week.
A nice comment. Working together is key. Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're all about that as Language Magnet.
So most likely then, this second scenario, 43% in the report would identify in that category. However, again, there's obviously a risk factor here that the MFL is not being delivered as confidently or as frequently as other subjects. And this is backed up by what the British Council survey said. They do a survey every year called Language Trends in England. And they identified that in 3 out of 4 schools, the teacher reports that the pupils do receive their allocated time for languages each week. However, in the remaining 1 in 4 schools, weekly language teaching is often disrupted. And some of the reasons that they give is that the teacher's time gets divided between 2 year groups. Half the year maybe doing language with year 6s, and then the other half it goes to year 5. So there's an inconsistency. It may be staffing issues, and it may be, and is frequent, that when other things come into the curriculum, other activities, that languages is usually the first that gets pushed out. Now, another area of interest is that the Ofsted subject lead for languages, Michael Wardle, Ofsted being the body that holds the schools in the United Kingdom to account, in England, Wales, that the languages that he looked at, languages in outstanding primary schools. So this is a blog post he wrote, which is on the government site, and I'll let Rachel take you through that.
Despite the impressive array of languages on offer, we found a lot of variation in the quality of the curriculum in languages. There were some excellent examples, and he does go on to give examples of good practice. However, given that many pupils should have been leaving year 6 with 4 years worth of language study, it was disappointing to see how many schools were barely out of the starting block with their curriculum. In some cases, this was due to changes in staffing when schools lost their language specialist. In others, it was because leaders were focused on other areas of the curriculum. Sometimes there was just a simple lack of expertise. Whatever the reason, the result was that several schools were only scratching the surface when it came to matching the scope of the natural curriculum. In these schools, pupils were only able to respond to a few pre-rehearsed question and answer exchanges, and offer a few nouns, colours or numbers when asked.
Right, so we can see then that these were in outstanding primary schools. So even there are difficulties around the curriculum and the delivery. And there's some interesting questions come up about how much time should be given. And I'm glad that question has been asked, actually, because there's no set specific amount, but it's recommended. So ideally, an hour a week. But most primary schools would struggle with that. So 30 minutes is the usual that they get. Sometimes 45 is a good sort of compromise. But it's not necessarily happening every week. So sometimes it might get alternated with another subject. But ideally, if you get an hour, yes, you are very lucky if you can get an hour a week with Key Stage 2. Upper Key Stage 2, definitely difficulties there when they start doing lots and lots of maths and English and science, getting prepared for SATs. Sometimes it just whole terms of it disappear. So really, really difficult getting into the curriculum. So therefore, we ask the question, why teach foreign language? Or at least why teach it at primary level? So we're just going to look at some which are perhaps obvious and some maybe not so obvious. But on an experiential level, we know that foreign language enriches the experience of traveling, exploring the world, questioning the world. And how good is that to get youngsters really into exploring the world and open to the ideas of the world? It enables them to access information from more than one place in this day and age where internet is king, really, isn't it? And to be able to access the French internet or the Spanish internet, how wonderful is that? Or any other language that they're learning. So it opens study and job opportunities, again, in the global economy. So that's experiential. And then we've got sort of the social side. It provides a gateway to other cultures, promotes acceptance and empathy. And how much do we need that right now? It enhances listening and reading skills, understanding the ideas and feelings of others, and then enables us to communicate our thoughts and express our ideas as well. So the children are learning that at a very young age. Those are important social skills. And then the academic side, it increases academic performance, concentration, alertness, and focus.
Yeah, I do feel with that as well. We have a lot of it's quite well known that music does that, but I don't think it's really understood for language. Languages can be so beneficial across the board, can't it?
It's connected to maths, it's connected to music, and there's not a subject that can't benefit from learning a foreign language. Memory skills there, short-term, long-term memory skills. We know that, it's very popular to work with dementia patients. It supports the learning of English grammar. So you're helping the English literacy curriculum, making those connections between words, sentences, and stories. And it develops the higher order thinking, more creativity and flexibility, problem solving, analyzing, evaluating, imagining, decision making. How can we not want our youngest children to be enriched like this in their daily curriculum? So bringing that in at primary is so important and so often overlooked. There's not a subject that it can't touch. And
it's such a good age, primary, isn't it, to start learning a language? So
yeah, absolutely.
They absorb.
Thank you. Yes, Marie here comments that it helped her with science. Fantastic. Yes, I mean, we haven't even started on the how beneficial it is to EAL and SEND learners. Absolutely. It's a level playing field for many of these children. Strong visuals for SEND, strong auditory emphasis, and with EAL, allowing them to show allowing their personality to come through, allowing them to take the lead on things that they would really sort of struggle to take lead in other subjects because they're in an area they've already got those transferable skills. Yeah, so I'm so with you there. So the question is then, we know that teaching maths and science, you're not expected to know the theory of relativity. We know you don't have to be an athlete to teach PE. So how can you deliver foreign language if you are not a linguist? So we're going to give you some tools here to think about what a school would need to be able to deliver an effective language curriculum. Absolutely, at the top there, you need a clear, well-balanced and progressive curriculum that is designed for any teacher to use. That is so important because, as we've already said, if your specialist leaves, then the school that was doing really well is suddenly back to square one. The presentations need to be engaging and resources and lots of fun. Teaching languages, there is a lot of repetition, but it's finding new and different ways to get across similar points and then building on that and keeping the children engaged. Plenty of audio support, that is key to teachers feeling confident. So we're talking here about non-specialist teachers who, I said 98% of the teachers that I've worked with have said they're not confident with pronunciation. So that audio support is key. Detailed lesson plans then, progressive, but easy to follow. So plain English, let's get rid of the jargon. Let's talk how you would if you was in the classroom as a specialist, holding the hand and saying, well, this is what I would do. Now, assessment is an area of great fear for a non-specialist. How do they assess? So very clear assessment criteria, easy to use, and it also shows that measurable progression. The resources and activities also need to support the whole range of learning experience. So you've got to have the differentiation in there to support all your different abilities and the independent learning opportunities to push on your children they're ready to learn more. Some of them are so hungry for more knowledge, and they will find connections and work things out for themselves. Now, grammar, again, another area that a non-specialist finds a little bit scary, but the grammar should be easily explained in lesson plans, step by step. And the focus here is that if you teach the teacher, the children will learn, because it's the teacher is the pivotal point. They are the key. And if we bypass the teacher, then what the children will pick up is that it's not an interesting subject. So it's getting teachers enthusiastic, and you're only going to get them enthusiastic if they understand it's clear what they've got to teach. So clear connections with English grammar. Let's make sense of it so that the children can see that their own other subjects like English are improving alongside the foreign language. I can't tell you how many times I have talked with adults who have said to me, I wish I understood more of my own grammar when you start teaching them a foreign language grammar. And you have to sometimes go back to the English grammar, and then it starts to make sense. And it can work the other way around with children. They start to see the connections. And we got a scheme of work, then whatever scheme of work you're using, it needs to have built within it a flexibility to allow teachers to bring their own experiences, their own teaching styles. So if you've got a native speaker there, that they're not feeling hemmed in by the same curriculum, but they can fly with it because they've not got any sort of confidence around the actual language itself. But it also allows teachers who perhaps they are musical or into ICT, and they can bring those other elements that they want to into the lessons. That allows them to take ownership of the lesson, bring their own personality, and children will respond to that. And absolute key is good quality continued professional development. So good quality training, or as we call it at Language Magnet, coaching. to support teachers both with the language itself and with the delivery techniques. And that underpins the sense of being supported. They can teach it without having to know the whole range of the language. They can teach it step by step, as much as they might teach country dancing. They don't have to know all the country dancing techniques. They just need to know those steps they're going to teach for that lesson. And that is, in fact, where the idea for Language Magnet was born. Just watching two teachers in the staff room, and one was teaching the other to do the country dancing steps for the next lesson. And it was enjoyable to watch. And I thought, if they can teach country dancing like that, they could teach a language like that, step by step, just keeping it easy and knowing what to do, keeping one step ahead of the children. And that's how it was born, and it's worked. So I'm going to go from the tools that's needed to
techniques to empower.
Okay. Yeah, step by step. We need to make lessons fun. So your scheme of work may be fun, but the teacher themselves needs that engagement. So the teacher, if the teacher finds the scheme fun as well, they will respond to that. They know what they're doing. They feel confident. They feel supported. They're able to loosen up and start to make that lesson more fun, functional and focused. So games, songs, quizzes and role plays, we know the sorts of things that we can use, but it's about using them in a fun and a functional way. Children, I believe, really only learn when something is either fun or it's functional. And focused is what's going to drive that learning forward. Now, movement's really important. It's the kinesthetic part of the learning brain, and it's having actions in songs, it's having the drama in the role plays, it's using large space games, as well as those smaller movements, just playing with cards and quizzes, and it's having movement all the way through, and using different voices, different body gestures to reinforce the target language. Now, that's obviously got to be what's comfortable to the teacher, but the more teacher feels confident that they're supported and more relaxed, then the more they're able to relax with the children. And then using voice in different pitches and different strengths of voice and different body gestures becomes a natural part of teaching languages. It's essential to teaching. The teacher themselves is the most important tool in the classroom. And then using the flashcards, realia, that's live objects, and visual aids to support those vocabulary, phrases and language structures. So all this then allows for the visual, auditory and kinesthetic learning. And then within this, allowing for creativity, enabling pupils to substitute words and manipulate sentences. Now, this is where somebody who is not a specialist may feel a little bit scary. But if it's done step by step and it's shown in the program how they can do it, they're using frameworks and they're showing how language is being recycled through a program, then the children are enabled to substitute words, and they start to take ownership of their own language, their own creativity. They're not parroting, they're starting to work it out for themselves, and they really enjoy that, and they will remember those sentences far more than a parroted sentence.
Yeah, we have some lovely examples later of children expressing themselves and being creative in their target language.
Now, children need to be able to track their own progression. They need to celebrate their achievements. Teaching languages is all about what the children can do, not what they can't do. And for many people, unfortunately, have come from a background where certainly my era, where you had red marks and things like that all over your work, and that, I know that has gone now and it's not done in schools, but it's celebrating what children can do and what, you know, how they are communicating, and if they're able to convey an idea. It's not about whether it's 100% correct, accurate. That comes with time, that comes with practice. Are they communicating? Other things in the classroom to support as well, having picture dictionaries and simple stories and card games and activities, so that children can go and play with these things in their wet break, or if there's a golden time, or a lunchtime club, but it gives them the opportunity to explore the language, and they'll make those connections. If you have lovely picture dictionaries, they will love looking at pictures and spotting words that they have already learned in their lessons, and then finding some more that they want to then use for themselves because they relate to that. I had a child who was really into sharks, and sharks wasn't one of the words that I taught, but he found it in a picture dictionary, and it was like he just absolutely loved sharks, so that was his word. And then cross-curricular opportunities for pupils to use the target language outside of the lesson itself. So this is to help normalize using the language, and it's not trying to create, you know, completely bilingual environment, but it's developing a bilingual environment by saying, okay, we've learned some colors in French, now we've got art, now we know what the colors are in French, we can use them in our art lesson. Why not? Yeah. So there's lots and lots of ideas. So yeah, are there any questions that that you want to put to us at this point?
So we haven't got any questions so far, but I have been loving the comments in the chat. There's been lots and lots of people saying, yes, I agree, absolutely, etc. Little and often. It's been really interesting to have primary specialists talking about or giving their feedback to what you've been saying. So there's many people here agreeing 100% with what you're saying, Diana and Rachel. So it's great. So I think any questions that have come up, you've been able to skillfully answer them by looking at the chat. So I think let's carry on and see some more examples. That'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're loving these questions coming in as well. So thank you for those. So I would like to now just show you how we do it at Language Magnet. And we want to introduce you to our online MFL. It's a teaching tool platform. So it's for the teacher to use. As we say, when we teach the teacher, the children will learn. So we provide a full Key Stage 2 MFL course. We provide extracurricular resources, and we provide regular live CPD coaching. So we're going to show you some examples. We'll start off with some language presentations and taken from different modules. You'll see, first of all, that they've all got audio in there. So we fully back up what we've been talking about. So it allows the specialists choose to use them if they want to, but the non-specialists, they've got them there for support, but they do not bypass the teacher. So you can listen to them on the board, then you can have my turn, your turn, but we really encourage the teacher to fully engage with that learning process and not bypass the teacher at all. And by engaging the teacher, that's where you're going to raise the standard of primary MFL. You'll see also that the color coding, we have a color-coded grammar system. Every word is color-coded according to parts of speech, and that is throughout the course. And the children learn to identify through the colors as well. So it's dyslexia friendly. It helps with children that just need that support with recognizing the different parts of the language, and the audio and the text as well are interactive. So you can either listen to the audio first and then see the text, or you could listen and see the text and work it according to what sort of skill area you want to develop with your children. So here are some examples of the members of staff. They are all non-specialists working with the Language Magnet program, and they've gone from not having really any confidence with teaching, in this case it was French, to feeling confident and they know what they're doing. Here's some examples of some of the activity sheets. They are differentiated as well, and I'll show you that in a minute. But throughout the course, every presentation does have an activity sheet that goes with it to allow you to embed the language they've learned, if that's a mode you want to use. And all the graphics all match up, so it's all congruent. So if you look carefully, I'm going to show you the next slide. You'll see that this level of activity sheet increases to differentiate. So there's lots of differentiation. It may be in the activity sheet, it may be in the PowerPoint itself, it may be in the lesson plan, it may be in the resources. Okay. Now, everything you're going to see here has been taught by non-specialist MFL teachers in primary. Okay, so here are some speaking skills. The children are playing with cards and talking to each other and acting out various scenarios. I have a listen to the young man at the top.
La paleta está en el armario. The football is inside the wardrobe.
The young lady at the bottom.
La pelota está delante de la silla. The football is in front of the chair.
So they're working on it individually and then trying to apply what they've learned. In this next slide, the top left hand you're going to see in a minute, these are 2 Year 3 children, so they are aged 7. And they are doing a role play, which they do completely from memory.
Bonjour, bonjour, comment ça va? C'est bien, merci. Et toi? Ça va bien, merci. Comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Isabelle. Comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Wyatt. Quel âge as-tu? J'ai 8 ans. Quel âge as-tu? J'ai 7 ans.
So you can see there, and they go on to do a bit more actually as well, and they know what they're saying. They're not parroting, they know what they're saying, and they are having a conversation in French, and they can change they created that based on what they learned.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33.
So there's a young man doing some independent learning of numbers. Now this young lady at the bottom left, you're going to see, she created a weather forecast. It was her own weather forecast she made up. And you'll see her using the actions that we were talking about earlier about using movement. The teacher was encouraged to use movement, and she's applied it. And you can see how it has affected her memory, because she does this completely from memory.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Olivia. In France, au centre, il fait beau. Au nord, il fait froid. Au sud, il pleut. À l'est, il neige. À l'ouest, il fait du soleil. Au revoir, merci.
And then on the right hand side here, we've got a young lady, and she could show us an example of self-correction.
Yo soy más alta que Jake.
So she's applying the grammar rules that she has learned. So that's really super. Just incredible to see that all that was done by non-specialist teachers following the program and applying what they're learning. Okay. Although the young lady, she said she was taller than Jake. So activity resources here, examples of things like the flashcards. Again, the display cards or flashcards, they're color coded as well into masculine and feminine. And you've got board games, you've got match-up cards, opinion cards there. You've got quizzes and sentence building cards. So lots and lots of different types of resources. And we have a Fun with French and Fun with Spanish home learning series. Now, this is what we put in to help students, pupils, take the language home and also work independently from the teacher, so they can hear the QR code, they can hear the language and work on their own, work in pairs, developing role plays, and the teacher can go and help those that need more support, or they can take it home. And we've had some wonderful feedback from teachers about parents asking for more of these. I had a parent whose child was Polish and new to the country, and she asked could she have a pack of these because her daughter was learning as much English through them as she was French. And we've had stories of children teaching their grandparents, and it's that triangulation of parent and child and school teacher working together, and breaking those boundaries of you know, why should we learn French or Spanish because everyone speaks English, and those sort of questions that often get asked. So when a lot of parents, when they start to hear this, because a lot of parents can feel a little bit nervous around supporting their child learn something that they don't feel confident with themselves, and when they hear these, they start to remember and go, oh yeah, that's I remember doing that, and it has really good effect. So here's some listening skills, and you see some boys up there. They're listening to the audio QR codes. They're listening through playing board games with each other. The young lady at the bottom here, she'll hear practicing with the QR code.
Un cochon d'Inde.
Un cochon d'Inde.
Un perroquet.
Un perroquet.
Okay. And then we've got reading skills. So we do all the 4 skill areas, and with reading, lots of different types of activities there. We've got you know, matching up quizzes and sentence building cards. The children that are using tablets, one of the possibilities is that there is you can use an app. There's an app called Shobi, where you can take PDFs and you can put them into this app and make them so that the children can actually write on graphics tablets. So it makes the PDF interactive. It gives them access to being able to hear the audio QR codes, record themselves, and write on the tablets as well. Okay, sorry, I'm reading some of the comments coming in, which are great comments. And then some writing skills, you'll see that children, again, writing on the graphics tablet there, but also writing on the mini whiteboards, which are a wonderful resource for having in your classroom, and writing on the activity sheets themselves. Here's an example of the syllabus that's different modules, and you get a clear breakdown of the skill and the language that comes up in that module. There's a couple of sheets per module. So there's a lot of language, and there's a lot of recycling of language. So it's embedded, and then it comes up again, and it's built on and extended. And here's an example of the lessons where it's just straightforward, plain English of what to do and which resource to use and roughly how long it might take for that activity. Pupil trackers have been very well-received tool that we put in, and they allow the children to track their own development. They can see what's coming up, they can see where they're at, how much support they've needed, and they can show the demonstrations of how many times they've actually shown that skill and in what sort of ways. And there's CPD around all these different resources as well. The assessment criteria, again, assessment we mentioned earlier, difficult area if you don't know a language particularly well, but with us, we put it out in very simple language so that teachers can see very clearly what the criteria is for whether the child is emerging or expected or exceeding, and they have different wordings. We call it Magnus 1, Magnus 2, and Magnus 3. So we take away from any particular wording that's used in different places at different times by different schools. So we help this teacher to be able to make that judgment call on their speaking and their writing, and then of course reading and listening, it's very clearly grade boundaries are shown. We got songs, raps and games. We're in the process of developing a lot more in the way of songs. But here's an example of a year 3 class singing to the tune of the Okie Kokie, the pet song. Okay, and they've got a class in the bottom right here. You'll see a class doing a rap. This is a year 5 class.
Qui-est, c'est ma pelle. Comment elle s'appelle, Marie-Pierre. Qui-est, c'est ma pelle. Comment elle s'appelle, Marie-Pierre. Qui-est, c'est mon frère. Comment elle s'appelle, Robert. Qui-est, c'est ma soeur. Comment elle s'appelle, Marie-Fleur. Qui-est, c'est ma femme. Comment elle s'appelle, Julianne. Qui-est, c'est ma cousine. Comment elle s'appelle, Catherine.
And then we've got some role plays. And in the top left-hand side, you're going to see 2 children. They are year 2 children. Now we do a Key Stage 1 course, which dovetails seamlessly into the Key Stage 2 course. And it is, it's been very well received in schools, and it really embeds language right from the early age. They are familiar with the style and the program of Language Magnet before they even get into year 3. So have a listen to these 2 who are working again from memory.
Où est Milo? Milo est dans la salle à manger. Où est Milo? Milo est dans la chambre. Où est Milo? Milo est dans le salon.
So how lovely is that? So a question here being asked, and I'll hopefully answer this now, about how do you upskill your specialists, non-specialists, sorry. So the way we do it at Language Magnet is we provide a CPD coaching, and it's live coaching, but there's also replays available. And we focus on what people want to see, and grammar has obviously been a big one. So we've looked at pronunciation, other. So we've looked at pronunciation. We've done masculine and feminine nouns. We've done adjectives, and we're going to be doing present tense verbs. So we take it very simply, step by step, and we do it in a way that allows the teacher to go back over it again in their own time as well. And they have notes that they can also have and download. And by being on the live CPD, they can also ask questions directly through the live chat.
Just generally as well, is our approach to helping teachers is we assume no knowledge.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And no question is a silly question. It's all, everything, it counts, and everything is added into the toolkit, so they know where to go to find that extra help. I'm going to take you into the portal to show you a little bit more about that as well. So we need to come out here, and we're just going to pop into the portal. And what you're going to see in a minute is some of the lessons and some of the other support that's in place for you. Which hopefully will show you even more that question about how do you support teachers. So with a subscription, you once you've logged in, you'll come to the members home, and here you will see what's new. So you've got your June updates, and you can see what's coming up, or if there's any new features being added. And then you've got your live classes, and they're easy to book.
Yes, one-click booking, very simple. And the CPDs are fully flexible as well. You can join on individual devices if you want to, or as one class. It's making your CPD, it's bringing the CPD into the teacher's hands.
Yeah, we've had very, very good feedback on the CPD, saying how helpful it is, making suggestions on what they would like to see, asking, it was them asking for teachers, asking for access to be able to use some of it. That's developed the way we've done it. So we've now got the PowerPoints that they can use parts of them themselves if they want to, with children, if it's appropriate and children want to learn more. And it also allows as well for secondary schools. I haven't said anything about secondary schools really, but this is pushing up standards in secondary schools. But when in secondary schools, there's always that difficulty with children coming through at different rates of ability or different languages. And this could be used to fast track year 7s because and year 8s, because the level to which children would go with this, should they complete all 12 modules, would be equivalent to around halfway through year 8. So, and that's at year 6 age. Okay, so let's just pop into the French course, for example. You'll see there that you've got the full Key Stage 2 course, which is this one, and then you also have the extra Key Stage 1 course, which is added as part of your subscription. And then you have the 12 modules, which is over the 4 years of Key Stage 2. So that's your 7 to 11-year-olds. And within each module, you have 12 lessons. And then you've also got your syllabus, your pupil trackers, and your assessment criteria. And assessments generally take place around sort of lesson 11 and 12. So if I just pop you into module 1, for example, you'll be able to see there's some guidance notes, and then the syllabus itself, or just this is where they start, and they will go on to recycle this language through many of the different modules. We're developing knowledge organizers at the moment as well. So you've got all the language on 2 pages there, with a printer-friendly version as well. And your downloads are at the bottom here. So with your subscription, everything is unlocked, everything is open, so you can go where you want, but you're obviously working it through. But if you were teaching something and you wanted to recap something from a previous module, you can easily go back and find it, and it will tell you in the lesson plan what specific module and specific lesson is related to the one that you're teaching. So let's go into pets here in lesson 7, for example, in module 3. Again, you have an skills and overview of the key skills and vocabulary. So it's showing you basic skills, extended skills, cross-curricular and life skills, vocabulary at a glance. So this is very good for the specialists to use. And in here, we're going to be putting in as well the phonics and the high frequency words that suit this particular lesson. You go on to the lesson plan, and there is all your language, explanation of the language, and how to, which resource to use, how to deliver it, followed by the presentations and resources. These can be enlarged so it will fit your whole whiteboard. And you can see there you've got your audio.
Un chien.
And there you've got your text, or you can do it the other way around.
Un chat.
You want to teach. You've got your display cards, again, color-coded, and games like you've got bingo games. you've got pair games, match-up games, and lots of other games besides that are in the lesson plan. In here, you've got a QR code audio sheet for independent learning. And at the bottom are all your downloadable resources, and everything's downloadable apart from the PowerPoint itself.
Question, how do you recycle through your modules?
Okay, so recycling is being done very, very carefully crafted recycling throughout all 12 modules. And let's take, for example, the weather. So they learn weather phrases in module 4, and they learn to give a weather forecast, which you saw the young lady do on the speaking slide. That weather will come up again when they talk about clothes and talking about what they're wearing, and in different weather what they wear. And it will come up again in module 10, where they're talking about hobbies and interests and what they do in different weather. And then it comes up again in module 12, where they bring together all their learning from the course, and I'll talk about that a bit later on. So things like that, opinions will keep coming up, and structures will keep coming up. So if they're using a certain structure, like in my school bag I have, that will reappear in the form of in my bedroom I have, or in my school classroom I have. So they're learning to keep using the same structures and then expanding and developing them. And then with opinions, you start adding reasons for opinions.
Another question, are there any differentiated worksheets per topic, please?
There are a lot, yeah, there are lots of, there's differentiation throughout the course. So it always supports the different ability levels within the class. So sometimes it's the activity sheet. Sometimes that's not necessarily needed there, but it's needed with the game resource, or it's needed in the PowerPoint, or it's needed in the assessment. So it sort of depends on where that extra sort of support and differentiation is best suited for that lesson. Okay. So let's go over to Spanish. Spanish. And we'll let's go into a higher module. Let's go into module 10. Okay, let's go into, this is how you can go in and out. We're going to go into lesson 8 there, which is about hobbies and interests. So you can see here in the lesson plan itself, optional extension speaking activity. So when you've got a class that can be really pushed on, you've got that opportunity to do that. So here you've got some hobbies and interests. So they're learning here.
Ver la televisión.
They're learning to work with verbs in the infinitives.
Escuchar música.
And they apply that. There's always an application to what they do. And the application in this case is Manny talking about his week and what he does regularly in his week. And this is where you'll see, to answer the recycling again question, you're seeing there language from module 1, language from module 7, and again, taking it on to develop new language in this particular topic. You've got the opinions there, which were in module 5, coming up again, and they've learned to extend their language with those extra clauses they can put in to develop the structures of their language. This would be an example of an activity, listening activity, where you've got young girl, she will speak, and they will have an activity to do. And in this case, it's identifying which day of the week she's talking about according to the pictures. And then there's the transcript that they can then also bilingual transcript this one, where they can take it away and listen to it again at home to embed that listening skill. And then they've got another QR code audio sheet here where they can revise the language for those activities and the recycling of the opinions there, which start in module 5.
Might be worth noting at this point, if you take your classes all the way through the modules to module 12, the results are quite incredible. Actually, the standard is mid-year 8, I believe.
Yeah, it's a very high standard. And you know, not all schools necessarily will reach module 12, and that's fine. It's what's right for you, and you go at the speed that's right for your class. It's not about getting through a curriculum. It's about quality of the language. It's about learning those skills to be able to, you know, be creative with it, to be able to substitute words. Those sort of skills teach children to be able to work with the language, and you can build on that quite easily as they go up through into secondary. So we got the Key Stage 1 program here. If we hop into there, this comes with your subscription. So I don't know, let's go and have a look at transport. So there's transport in module 6 of the main Key Stage 2 program, but they've already had a taste of it in Key Stage 1, and they've learned to do something with it. They've learned to identify colors and numbers, so building on that skill. And they have their transport, so they will recognize. So when they do come to see this again, it's embedding something they've already become familiar with, but it's not a repetition of the same thing. It is taking it on from there and building on that. And so children will, that congruency, because of the familiarity of the graphics, is really effective. Again, they have their display cards and game cards, and then they take that on to develop, saying how many vehicles there are. So, and there's a simple assessment activity which can be done in a written form, or it can be done in spoken form, whatever suits your class. There's no, you know, right or wrong. It's whatever suits your class. And then we could go into, let's go back to, let's go into Spanish. And let's go into year 2. And now, yeah, let's go into the house, because you saw the children earlier on in French, speaking in French about the house. The French and the Spanish courses are identical. So these are what the children actually did. So they learned the vocabulary from for the house, and then they used the activity cards, the display cards here, and then they learned the structure about where is Milo in French. They did, and then they also learned to they applied that with a game, finding Milo, and then he goes hiding. His features quite well. He's the one driving, flying the plane, and there he is. And they take that card, and that's how they were playing. Where is Milo? And they can then apply other family members to it. So it's very adaptable. Okay. And there's a simple assessment there. So just to finish up, we're going to take you around other aspects of the portal. We're going to go to the teacher support.
So this area is everything that you have in your subscription. So there is an area for just tools for the teacher. Do you want to go to CPD?
Yes, go into French adjectives there, right? Yeah.
So this is supplemental material that comes with our live CPD webinars.
So you've got the live video, but then they've also got the PowerPoint here, which they can come back to. So that question somebody asked earlier on, how do you upskill with CPD? They can come back to this and revisit it. And it's all there for them. And there's also the notes as well. So they can use this, they can use it to teach with. Again, very good with if secondary want to use it on a more advanced way of teaching. Okay, we'll go back and you can see the live CPD.
So this is the live CPD hub. And again, another place to book your CPDs, so quick to do. And you'll find the replays here. We always upload and record every CPD session.
So we launched in January. So we are building the CPDs on a monthly basis. There's French and Spanish every month, describing pet colours. This is the first point in the program where you, okay, so you can see that they can go back and refer to it as much as they like. We also have an MFL guidebook, and this is an at-a-glance guidebook. So if you want to know more about teaching EAL students or using dictionaries in the classroom, there's information there that's quick at-a-glance support. And then finally, let's take you to the onboarding. So with the onboarding, you go on.
Yeah, so when you join us, you have an annual onboarding with us. So at first, it will be a sort of orientation, getting used to the portal and providing that bespoke. What are your goals for your school? Working with Diana to set those goals and do what's right for you. In the next years, what you can do is you can bring, if you have any new staff on board, you can bring them into their yearly onboarding, or you could use it as a general coaching session for your school, or like a review. So and it's self-booking as well. So no back and forth emails. Yeah, so that's at your disposal.
There's also a French audit and Spanish audit there. Now that's just if you want to be able to see, get an idea of what skill set your staff already have. It's in a questionnaire form. It's very, it's simple. It's not threatening. It's just, what do we know between us all? And you can get a good picture on that as a starting place.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to take back now to finish up with back to our presentation, because we want to give you a little bonus here as well. So I think from what we've said tonight is that teachers, primary teachers who are non-specialists, can teach languages. They don't have to be linguists. They're not expected to know all the grammar, pronunciation, or sentence structures of the target language. But what they need is a good quality, affordable language course that all teachers can easily follow step by step, that provides full support throughout the teaching and learning process. And that's what we hope we've shown you tonight. Now, the pricing for Language Magnet is very simple. It's £180 a year for one language, or £240 a year for two languages. And that's the founding member price. And that price, as a founding member, will not change. So whatever happens to the portal and how it develops in the future, if that's the price that you've paid, that will not go up. So you will always know how much your MFL has cost you, will cost you each year. This is exempt from any sort of taxes involved in different countries. But on top of this, what we'd like to offer is a £30 discount on your first year. So the first year at the checkout, if you want to redeem the coupon LMJOE23, that will give you £30 off, whether it's the one language or the two languages. And that is open until the 21st of July. So that's got a limit on how long that will be open for. But 21st of July is the cutoff for that. After that, it will be £180. But the 150 with £30 off being 150, that will be for your first year only. Or if you pay for two, then instead of 240, it'll be 210, but that's for your first year. And after that, you can maintain the founding member price.
This code as well will go out in an email to all attendees.
So you can catch us on Twitter at Language Magnets. We're on Facebook. And of course, you can email me directly if you have a question, diana@languagemagnet.com. And you can also do a trial for a 14-day free trial. It's a demo. it gives you access to about 50 lessons in each of the languages, whichever language you want, or if you want to look at both. The resources are watermarked there, but you can get a good feel for what it's like, look a little bit more in depth at the resources, you can, try it out and see if that suits you.
Do have a look at our website, www.languagemagnet.com. If you have any longer questions maybe, or want to talk more specifically about your school, you can email Diana at languagemagnet.com. We're really happy to answer any private questions you might have. Or speaking of questions, Joe, are there any questions you'd like to send our way?
Indeed, we have a couple of questions, if that's okay. But first of all, thank you ever so much for that fantastic presentation. It was really awesome. So the first question we have is the following. How and when do you start teaching liaisons in French, please?
Okay. So we've got CPD around this as well for the teachers. The way we've done it is to keep it straightforward at the start, so it's very clear what the words are. I think if liaisons are introduced too soon, it can be a little bit confusing for children. They can't necessarily hear, and it's very important they can hear the word and connect it to the text. So there is liaison. It's naturally progressed into the program, and you'll hear it in the audios, and where there is a need for clarification, that will show up in the lesson plan. So there's not a specific moment at which they start learning to liaise. It starts coming with the experience of the language, so it starts becoming a natural part of their language learning. And where a specialist would be able to correct things quite easily, a non-specialist would not necessarily have that skill. That's where the CPD comes in, and there's CPD already done on liaising and how that happens in French, and the non-specialist gets a full support around that. And then, of course, if they have any questions, they can come back to us. And I think that's really I can say for that, if that's okay.
That's absolutely fine. I think the next question it will be a similar response, which is to do with punctuation. When and how do you teach about different punctuation rules, please? Okay,
again, with punctuation, I mean, punctuation is one at primary where you've also got some children that are using punctuation appropriately in English and some are not. So so in many respects, it can help reinforce the English, full stops at ends of sentences, capital letters and so forth. It comes into lesson plans, for example, where English may use a capital letter and maybe the target language doesn't for something specific, like days of the week or months. It's taught within the lesson plan. Punctuation in, for example, Spanish, the inverted question mark and got the word now.
Enye, maybe.
Yes, yeah. Well, that comes in they do the alphabet in module 4. They learn the enye, and it's an extra part of the a letter in the Spanish alphabet. So they see it, like, for example, with the Spanish, they see the Spanish punctuation right from the start, and it's explained that, it comes at the front as well as the end, it's inverted, and how clever that is, really, and how it makes sense when you're reading it, especially, what and how to pronounce and how to inflect your voice. So it comes in, again, everything like that comes in naturally, and children also often ask the questions because they spot things, and that's a really great way of teaching as well, because it means they want to know the answer, they're asking. So we just encourage that, and again, when the teacher knows the answer to these questions, they're not frightened when children do ask it, they know how to answer it. So we haven't got a specific lesson on punctuation. It's just all part of the growing curriculum.
That's fantastic. It's been pointed out in the chat about the upside down exclamation mark in addition to the upside down question mark as well. So it would just be something you would cover when it sort of comes up naturally, I would presume.
Yes. Yes.
Lovely. And then we've got another question. If anyone else in the chat wants to ask any more questions, feel free to do so. But the last question I have is, are there opportunities to learn about language too, not just French or Spanish, e.g. to compare with other languages, discuss similarities and differences? So like a language awareness element to Language Magnet.
Well, we are a growing platform, so we are going to be bringing in lots of different things. And if people ask for things like that, then we will, produce what people are asking for. So we will be bringing in other aspects like culture, and etymology, and elements like that we can add, and they'll be part of the resources where you go to my courses and all the things come up there. They will have the extra resources will all be available in there. So as we build and as we grow, there'll be more and more added. So this is why I say with the founding member price, the value of what you're getting is just going to keep going up and up and up, but you won't pay any more. So that's, we recognize that we have only, although we've tried and tested and been going for years in schools as a program to bring it online and present it in a portal like this is since January. So we have so many ideas, so much coming, and it's a question of some patience, and it'll come.
Yeah, we love to have a dialogue with our member schools, and what we put on the platform is informed by your needs, and we prioritize. Like our CPD series, we've been working with our schools for the topics on those. Yes. And everything we're developing, which is such exciting things coming up. There's so many ideas. So yeah, do take advantage now of the discount of the founding member price.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for giving such a comprehensive overview of everything that you've been doing with Language Magnet, and there's so much more to look forward to. I mean, it's very, very impressive the way that you're saying this all started, or the online portal started in January. You've obviously done a huge amount of work. So I couldn't agree more with the comments in the chat about working together is so key from Marie, who I know has been very enthusiastic about comments in the chat and questions. So thank you to everybody who has come along this evening and has put lots of questions. I presume that's all the questions that people have. If you have a quick little question you want to put into the chat, you can't wait to put to Diana and to Rachel, feel free to do that right now. But you'll see that in the chat there's lots of really lovely comments coming through about people saying how much they've enjoyed the presentation, thanking you for your time, and to show us the sorts of things that you've been putting together for primary languages. It's just absolutely fantastic. I think unless there are any more questions, I think we're coming to the time in the evening when we're going to start wrapping up. But again, yeah, lovely comments here. I can see Sarah saying very good and useful presentation. Claire saying thank you so much, excellent presentation, platform looks fantastic. Kate, thanks for the presentation, really interesting, looks really nice, especially like your color-coded grammar, great idea. Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's amazing. So thank you so much to Diana and to Rachel for your time this evening and for sharing all the information about the platform. I'd really encourage everyone to take advantage of that very generous promotion up until July. Do take advantage of that promotion. I'm sure that you will find the platform incredibly useful in all the ways that we've seen. And as has been said, if you do have any questions at all, then do get in touch with Diana and Rachel, and they will answer any questions that you may have. And I love the way in which it was said that you're wanting to develop the platform to meet the needs of primary practitioners. I think that's exactly the right thing to do. And I think that's great. And I'm sure you'll get lots of great suggestions as well. So without further ado, I'm going to stop the session right now, but I would encourage everyone to check out the recording, which will be on my YouTube channel very soon, probably in a couple of hours as of now, and share it far and wide. Encourage other primary practitioners to have a look and to raise awareness about all the things that Language Magnet can do. So thank you ever so much, everyone, for your time this evening. And obviously to Diana and to Rachel for doing such a great job in presenting about Language Magnet. Thanks ever so much. I'll stop the recording now, if that's all right. And then if people want to say hello or ask another question, we can open up the microphones and videos as well. If people are happy to hang on for a few more minutes, that's fine.